Welcome to a special bonus episode of Higher Ed Icons recorded at the Let's Go Upstate retreat in beautiful Saratoga Springs, New York. My name is John Reid. I am guest hosting for this bonus episode today, and I am the CEO of OnDeck Marketing. We're an advertising agency that places out-of-home digital display screens in high schools across the country, and therefore I am an out-of-home believer and follower. And I'm stoked to be joined today by Dayana Kibilds. She is the AVP of Marketing and Community at Simpson Scarborough. She is also the best-selling author of Mailed It, and I have to go on a bit of a tangent here. Mailed It is essential reading if you're in higher ed marketing or marketing in general. It is the go-to on getting your emails read, and if you're an admissions officer that has a goal to be performing better in that sense, highly recommend Mailed It.
Thank you.
Truly believe that that is a difference maker, both for my company, which we all have signed up for the online course as of this week.
Thank you.
And genuinely really love it. And also, you're one of the most decorated speakers in higher ed marketing today, which I know you wouldn't say that, but that is the truth, Day.
That feels great to know. Thank you.
So thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Yes.
And how does it feel being in Saratoga?
Oh, it's beautiful. This is my second time in Saratoga Springs. The first time was the Mailed It book launch, actually. So thank you for that. And Let's Go Upstate has been an incredible experience.
It's been awesome. I've enjoyed every minute of it. 30 really, really smart minds all in one room.
And we've done everything from sweat together, cry together, eat together, glam together. It's been really incredible just to get to know folks on a more personal level too.
Totally loved it. Let's dive into what we want to talk about, which is, Day, you've been working in this industry for a long time. I've been here for a long time. We see trends come and go all the time. And so I remember, augmented reality, that was a thing for a little bit. And then it was like clients asking, should we be on Be Real?
I remember some of the like open house virtual demos, and there's little avatars. I don't know about
all of that. Yeah. And obviously now we're moving into AI search, and that seems to probably have a little more staying power. But regardless of all that, through it all, you've made the same argument that the marketers who resist chasing those new sexy technologies, the ones that really stick with the ones that actually work and master those tactics, that's what you want. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is. And I think every marketer feels this deep within their bones. Marketing is actually quite simple when you think about it. But when you're not a true marketer, you think it's all tactics. But to me, marketing is about your audience, first and foremost. And that means two things. What do they need to know? What do they want to know? And where are they getting that information? And I think when we chase the new shiny thing, we are ignoring the where is our audience getting that information that they're seeking. At the same time, we're innovators, right? By nature, we're looking at the trends, and we need to be the people also testing things and seeing what will stick. But you can't forget the foundation. You can't do it at the expense of the foundation. What are we saying because they need it? And where are we saying it because that's where they're looking?
Totally agree with you. And I think, whether you're working at an institution, maybe you've got a boss who's a bit of a magpie wanting to chase the shiny thing, or if you got an agency and you've got a boss doing the same thing, keeping that foundation, that's the two rules that you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, you've had every seat at the table in the industry. You've been in institutions, you've been agency side, you've been consulting, you've seen it all. You were the VP of strategy at Ology. Now you're at Simpson Scarborough.
That's right.
Very exciting. So you've seen all of it, and somewhere in between you did write a book. So you touched a bit more. But what I'd like to start with, I guess, is that what do you believe about brand and marketing in higher ed that most of your peers don't?
Yeah. I think after having the privilege of working with dozens of institutions on both their brand and their messaging and their marketing, what a lot of the peers in the industry don't do is talk about the things that are hard, talk about the things that are not polished, talk about who an institution isn't for versus saying this is for everyone or you all are welcome here. That can't be true by definition, right? So I've had clients, for example, from really academically rigorous institutions who forget in all of their branding and marketing to talk about how much hard work it actually is. And then students come to the institution and they're presented with this reality and then eventually don't succeed. So I think it's, again, a disservice to the audience. And then on the flip side of that, what a lot of institutions do is exaggerate what they define as community and belonging by talking about how that means everyone is included and everyone belongs. And while, yes, that should be a principle in terms of everyone should have access and everyone should have opportunity and everyone should be treated in a fair and equitable way, there are still preferences and character traits. And a student who, might want to check out football games every weekend and might want to have a more robust social life may not thrive at an institution that requires a lot more studying. And the flip side is also true. A student who is very academically driven, who has a very set goal, may not thrive at an institution that focuses more on the social aspects. So I think what's really important, what I don't see, is that universities try to be everything to everyone.
Right.
And they need to talk about the realities of what the experience is actually like so that students can identify, oh, that is the community that I want to be a part of.
And I think we saw that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we saw that especially maybe 10 years ago, like the "You Belong Here" as a
Yes.
tagline. That was
Yes.
everywhere. for a
Everyone
while.
belongs everywhere.
And so it really flattened the industry
Yeah.
because nobody
Yeah.
was showing what differentiated them.
That's right.
Right.
Exactly. And now that at Ology, prior to coming to Simpson Scarborough, I did a lot of brand work. And it's really interesting that every single institution believes the differentiator is their community. And it is true because that's the experience, right? When you are part of it, you understand it. But if you just say our community is what makes this place special and everybody says that, what do you mean?
Right.
And so that's what I mean talking about the hard parts, talking about the differences, talking about the not so shiny everyone is happy moments, and letting people decide, is that the kind of challenge that I'm okay with? Is that the kind of work that I'm looking for? Because yes, you're going to find friends, you're going to have fun, but that's not the only part of the experience that's important to talk about. That's my hot take.
That's
on
a good
brand.
take. And we started off with it, which I love. So hot take off the hop,
Yeah.
which I love. But I think, I think you're right. It's pervasive or you see it across.
Yeah.
But there are some that are getting it right. So like
Yeah.
who comes to mind or what do you think of when you think of those groups that are getting it right?
I knew this question was coming, and this happens to me every time somebody asks me, who's doing it right? I'm like, no one. And if you think you are, please DM me. Yes and no. So I think there are the institutions that think more about showing than telling are closer to getting it right. So what I mean by that is instead of saying, this is a place with a great community, that you give examples of stories, of moments, of memories, of situations, and then let the audience decide, oh, that's the kind of thing I want to be a part of. So teams with great content storytelling are closer to getting this right. If you ask me, name one school right now, I can't.
Sure.
I don't know. And also I wouldn't. I'm not going to pick favorites.
Yeah, and I
on the
wouldn't have
record.
wanted that. So that was a good answer. Thank you.
All the brands
Yeah.
have made. You know who you are.
So I think this is probably something that most people in higher ed marketing could identify with, where they've made a call that they knew was right,
Yeah.
but it was going to be hard to defend.
Yeah.
And, the room wasn't with them, the boss wasn't with them, or the data wasn't there. Like, have you been in that kind of situation? And how did you navigate it? What did you learn from it?
Yeah. I've been in that situation many, many, many times. And it's typically trying to change the way something is in favor of moving into a new way of doing things. So if we go back to your first question, which was, we need to think about the foundations, right? The foundation is, what do people need to know and where are they looking for that information? The second part of that changes with the times. It changes with generations. It changes with the technology that we have available. And if you are not following that, then you're suddenly behind, right? So many times in my career, I think just by the nature of being, a millennial, which we are like the first digital adopters, right? There have been moments when it's like, well, why are we placing a newspaper ad? maybe we shouldn't be placing a newspaper ad for our open house, because who is looking at that newspaper ad? I've also been in situations on kind of the annual giving advancement side of things where we are just sending mail and we're sending emails and we're sending all this stuff, but not really ever getting feedback from our audience about what's working, what they're reacting to. So I think one of the biggest changes that comes to mind was actually when I started working at Western University in London, Ontario. I was overseeing the recruitment for the institution for domestic students in Ontario and all of Canada. And the operation was entirely um, just physical in person. And I believe in that. Like, I think
Right.
it's really important to be in the physical spaces where students are.
Right.
I think it's really important to show up at their high schools. I think it's really important to have a presence at the fairs they're going to attend. But again, back to the question, where are they looking for information? You also have to be where they are. And they are in their physical spaces, but they're also in certain digital spaces, right? And I really wanted to get on their phones. I wanted to send more emails. I wanted to offer some virtual information sessions for the students who couldn't attend the fairs, or international students. And this is not unique to that institution, but every institution is like, why would we do that if what we're doing isn't broken? And so there's no data, right? Like, the boss isn't on board, and people are afraid of changing things that are not broken. I got lucky that there was a worldwide pandemic, and then we had to try these things. But if that wasn't the case, when when never waste a good crisis is the lesson here. But if that's not the case, if there's not a crisis that comes to your rescue, it's all about pitching a pilot. Well, let's try it. Let's pick the demographic we want to see a difference in. Let's pick the segment of our audience we want to influence, and let's try this thing while keeping and preserving our foundation, and then compare and see the results. And that, like, the pilot approach, usually for me has always worked when it comes to implementing things that leadership isn't buying into in the first place.
And so have a lot of those pilots been geared towards more getting in student spaces physically, having recruiters there, getting in front of them where they're in their schools or at the college fairs? Like, has that been a battle that you've had to fight a few times to get those pilots done so that you can reiterate how important it is to be in front of the students more
So
often?
I would say it's been both. It's a mix of channels, which I think is good marketing anyway, is an integrated all around mix. So 10 years ago, say, when I was leading my own recruitment team, the fight was more, let's try more digital. But nowadays, when I advise clients now, kind of on the consulting side, it's, well, when we think about especially like first generation students, first in their family to go to college or university, or students who are in kind of underserved communities and schools who don't have the guidance counselors or school counselors or teachers to help them, then you have to be in their space because they don't even know what to look for, right? And so I am a huge advocate for print, and I wasn't before. I am a huge advocate for, like, in high school presence of the communities where you wanna be known, because they don't know where to even look for you.
Right.
And so now I'm like, and I feel like everyone is, there's like this tendency, like, back to basics, back to organic, back to in person. So now it's kind of like, all right, we've tilted way too far in the digital direction, and we need to now show up where there's fewer distractions, and especially for those segments of our audience who aren't already plugged in to, like, the college search ecosystem.
Right. I totally agree with you. We hear about that when we do, little qualitative roundtables with students,
Yeah.
and they say, "Oh, I see this ad on my phone and TikTok, but it's midnight and I roll over and go to bed." Versus,
Yeah.
if I can get something in my school, at least my friends are there that
Yeah.
they value their opinion so heavily, or they have a guidance counselor
Yeah.
or a counselor available to help them. So it does make such a difference being in their space, in a space where they're comfortable, in an
Yeah.
environment they trust.
Yeah.
Agree with you there. Um, right now, and I mean, I think if you spend enough time going to higher ed conferences, uh, it's in a tough moment. There's some challenges, and I think whether it's public skepticism on higher ed and its value, or the enrollment cliff, or leadership turnover, or AI and its impact, or funding is kind of the perennial. The point is in that environment where things are feeling particularly challenging, brand and marketing work is one of the first things that gets questioned,
Mhm.
always. And so whether it's CFO or dean or whoever is asking, why does it matter? They want to see proof. So you've been making this case for marketing for
Mhm.
years. And I feel like a lot of people listening probably feel like they've been making that
Yeah.
case and just,
Yeah.
again and again. So if that hasn't changed, or what has changed, what's the case that you're making now that you weren't making 5 years ago? How has that changed,
Yeah.
or what's changed about why brand and marketing matters in higher ed?
Yeah. I mean, I think it matters more than ever because we're not just competing against other institutions for students' attention. We're competing against everything
Right.
else. And so there's more noise, there's more saturation just of their attention. I'm not a fan of the people don't have attention spans or young people don't have big attention. It's not that. It's just they have so much more stimuli than we ever did growing up, and definitely older generations, right? They have to split the time. The case for it is that if you don't show up, you're not going to be found. And maybe before, when there was less overall and fewer distractions, they had time to go find and do the research. So it's more now than ever because of the attention thing, but also there's so much more competition, right? There are so many options, including not going to higher
100%.
education at all.
Right.
And we have to build a case for that value early, and we have to do it consistently. And that's brand and marketing. Um, I would also say, if you think of any other type of business or industry, especially business to consumer products, right? If Coca-Cola's sales start tanking or Nike's sales start tanking, do we really think they would cut the marketing budget?
Right.
Or do we think they would invest more in marketing and show up in more places and turn it around, right? So if it works, that's how it works. People don't know how to engage with or partake or purchase things they don't know about and they don't know exist. So it's it usually works for most people who live in society to kind of do a parallel to other industries, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then also then present them with the fact that now more than ever that we have more competition than ever, including not going to university
Everyone's
at
going to be an
all.
influencer. That's the
Exactly.
career.
And so, if we care about higher education, and we believe in the value of it for society, we can't sit back and let them come to us.
Right. Good answer. And something that I think you're so right, whether it's, corporations that are now
Mhm.
getting involved in higher ed,
Mhm.
or whether
Mhm.
it's not going to school. And
Yeah.
there is just so many more messages for young people
Yeah.
or
And
options, I
and
guess, for them
great.
to listen to.
That's I
Yeah.
mean, I love this for them. But that means if, we can't opt out of that, because then nobody will know that we are there.
So are you seeing some institutions that have figured that out, that have recognized that, brand and marketing is something to
Yeah.
maybe not fully double down on, but like certainly not cut at this time?
Yes, I definitely have. There are some really incredible institutions who, the example that comes to mind is Purdue, honestly, because they invested in their brand. They started some serious investing in their brand about a decade ago, and have now turned that into what they call an in-house brand studio. Like, they have their own studio, like, that's branding focused internally. They have incredibly talented people leading the brand, and they are the higher education brand that's like an ad week and winning all these kind of out of category awards. So they get it. And that has shown, like, that's permeated across all their online entities and like their in-person education and everything else that's around it, their athletics. And that's what happens when you invest in brand at that level.
So last question for you,
Okay.
forward looking.
Okay.
He's thinking about it, like, because you've been in this industry, you've probably mentored or touched hundreds of people to thousands of people that work within higher ed marketing. And when you think of them and you think of all the people that you've influenced and hired and trained and onboarded and whatever, what do you hope that they carry forward from how you've worked?
Yeah.
What do you want them to be doing, in 15 years when you're watching from a distance?
I'm going to be so proud of all of you. Uh, I think no, don't forget your fundamentals, which is all about your audience. Become the audience expert. Whenever it is you're working, whatever it is that you're doing in any marketing situation, the way we get it right is by understanding our audience. So that's what I want them to carry forward in terms of like legacy. But I also want them to challenge themselves to always, in whatever situation they're in, try something that no one has ever tried before for that audience, coming from that knowledge you have of your audience. And try it and fail or try it and win, but keep trying is the other kind of the two-part lesson that I want them to take away.
Have you, and maybe not, but have you been able to see this with some proteges that you've worked with in the past?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have. It's really fulfilling.
I bet.
It's
Doesn't
really,
it
really
feel good?
fulfilling. It is. And when I see them kind of be successful and like grow in their careers, I just feel proud. I feel really proud. And what makes me feel proud is not that they succeeded, it's like that they had courage.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's the most important thing.
Isn't that great? And I feel like,
Yeah.
I mean, you giggled a little bit when you said legacy, as if you were leaving a legacy, but that is part of it. Like, you are
Yeah.
leaving a legacy,
Yeah.
which I think is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming here today and sitting down and chatting with me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being on Higher Ed Icons.
Yeah.
And now we get to enjoy the rest of the day in Saratoga Springs.
Yeah, I heard we're eating a lot today, John.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Pizza.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you
so much.
Higher Ed Icons celebrates the pioneers, thought leaders, and changemakers who have shaped and continue to shape higher education marketing.
New episodes drop every other Tuesday. Subscribe and leave us a rating wherever you listen.
Higher Ed Icons is made possible by our founding sponsor, OnDeck Marketing, keeping colleges and universities visible where students learn, walk, and scroll.
Learn more at ondeckmarketing.com. That's ondeckmktg.com to learn more.